Hello everyone, and welcome to this online seminar on audio and video production and recording for brass players. My name is Matonizz, and for those who are yet not familiar with my activities, I am a principal euphonium at the River City Brass in Pittsburgh, as well as I own the largest euphonium channel on YouTube called Matonizz, which is dedicated for brass music production. And that is exactly the topic I will be breaking down for you today, so you could have a better understanding of where I learned all the production skills from, what software and equipment I use, as well as where you should start if you like to learn how to make your own quality audio and video recordings, whether it's for your auditions, competitions, or self-promotion. In this tutorial, I will talk about my background of how and why I got into audio and video recording and production, what are the resources I use to acquire my knowledge, what software and equipment I use to make videos like this. And the terms you should get familiar with to start your own recording and production process. Check the timeline if you'd like to skip to any of the relevant chapters, and with that in mind, let's dig into the topic of recording and production. I started playing euphonium at the age of 7. Growing up, just like many other kids, I enjoyed listening to a variety of mainstream music, such as pop, rock, EDM, rap, and so on. At one point, I even started my own rock band playing guitar and singing. However, the instrument that I truly fell in love with playing was euphonium, which unfortunately didn't have a good career template outside of a traditional brass band or military band scene. And in order to make it to that scene, everyone knew you had to be good, really good. So instead of doing creative stuff like experimental composing, recording, vlogging, following popular cultural trends, and so on, I decided to spend most of my time with two of my best friends, Arben and Clark. And it was slowly but surely getting me to where I wanted. In 2010, I got accepted to my dream college in UK, and I was on the path to becoming a professional euphonium player. During my third year of undergraduate degree, I started truly thinking about my potential career paths. I knew I wanted to play euphonium, just didn't know exactly how to make a career out of it. I realized that my free career options were joining a military band, which in my case meant I would have to go back to Lithuania, since most of the countries only allowed their citizens to be part of military groups. Another option would be teaching. University level teaching meant another good 2 to 6 years of studies and quite a bit of luck finding a right opening at the right place. Becoming a school teacher was also partially out of the question because I was doing performance major and most places required educational degree. The third option was to become a freelance euphonium player, travel around the world performing and doing masterclasses, while at the same time creating my own euphonium career opportunities. I understood quite early that setting up this career path would take a while, therefore I started making more and more business-related inquiries to my tutors at college early on. After all, they were both walking templates of successful freelance careers. One common word that was thrown around was promotion. You needed to promote yourself as a performer in order to get concert opportunities. For the next 2 years, I was going to try and organize myself as many recitals as possible, enter competitions, and try to make as many connections as I could. However, the important question was, where do I begin? At the time, I clearly didn't have an ability to introduce myself to organizers as a principal euphonium at the River City Brass or any other institution, and I didn't have an extensive video or audio portfolio to present, and this is where my video recording journey began. Since I didn't have any concerts lined up yet, I figured that the next closest thing to a recital would be a studio performance class. After all, you would have a nice looking venue and an ability to perform in front of your peers with a piano player. It would clearly be an informal looking environment, so I figured it would make more sense to turn this into a vlog and start introducing myself as a prospective student from RNCM Euphonium Studio. I thought that would be a great idea to have my first vlog video introducing myself and show some one-on-one lesson footage from RNCM, which would hopefully pique some interest as well as some performing. In this case, it would be from a masterclass performance that took place in Lithuania. At the time, the only camera I had was phone camera from my Samsung Galaxy S2. I was so new to all the recording process that I didn't even realize to turn my phone sideways to avoid cropped screen. I wasn't so much focused on production side back then, but I did want to make a short video intro that looks similar to those cool, highly produced vlog videos. And this is what at the time I came up with. The only editing that I've learned back then was adding a video transition and putting music track over a picture to make a video introduction. I found that my computer had a free video editing software called Windows Movie Maker, which was perfect for what I needed at the time. Of course, the first video that I put out received some giggles in my studio class since it wasn't that great looking, but I was determined to make this into a thing. So the question was, how do I make the audio and video quality just a little bit better? I found out that our college library had some Zoom recorders available for lending that not only had a better microphone installed than my phone had, but also had a camera feature. It was very compact, which was awesome when taking to studio classes. Also, I figured that having a phone camera and Zoom recorder's camera at the same time would allow me to make angle changes in my videos, which would make the end product just a little bit better and more professional looking.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, guys and gals. Thanks to everyone who watched my last video. I know that it will take time to build up the number of viewers, and I will definitely have to improve the quality of videos in order to do that. I'm really sorry for the sound quality of a lesson with Steve, and if you haven't seen my previous video, make sure you do. I'll post the link to it on the top of the screen and in the description box as well.
Now I developed a format with which I made a number of following vlogs. However, I soon realized that the video editing software that I had would not accommodate some of the ideas I wanted to implement for the video editing process. Version of Windows Movie Maker at the time was only allowing me to use one video and one audio track per shot, which meant I could not put two camera angles simultaneously or manipulate which audio device was being used as the main audio source. I found that the camera on my Samsung phone had better quality video than Zoom Record and vice versa when it came to the audio. However, Movie Maker did not have a function of unlinking audio source from video and swapping it to a better sounding audio track. Since I was investing a good amount of time to these vlog videos now, I decided upgrading video editing software was a decent investment. I had no knowledge of different softwares on the market, so I basically Googled which video software allows two video tracks at a time, and I found that the cheapest choice with that function at the time was a Wondershare video editor. It cost me something like $50 to get the license, which was a substantial amount of money for me as a student. However, it allowed me to start implementing multiple video angles and audio tracks together. And even though the videos were still grainy looking and a bit rough in overall audio quality, I was already way ahead in terms of my ability to self-produce and promote myself as a performer over my peers in studio class. Like I've mentioned prior, entering competitions was a thing I started seriously looking into. Voldyne Solo Competition, a big international event with great win prizes, was taking place near Manchester, UK, where I lived. I was definitely going to enter it, but I was debating if I should vlog the preparation process leading up to it or not. It would make for an amazing portfolio if I won, but at the same time, it would make me look a little bit silly if I didn't do well. At least that was the thought process that was going through my mind at the time. That being said, because I didn't have that much of a following back then, I made up my mind to go ahead and make a preparation vlog, which ended up paying off big time. I won the competition and even managed to get permission to take footage from my final performance. Now I had a bunch of organizers interested not only in my playing but this whole video documenting thing due to its unique nature in our brass community. I started getting performance offers and organizers were asking if I could document my preparation and performances towards their events. At this time I already knew that even if my videos would not be getting millions of views, they were extremely useful when it comes to introducing myself to different organizers for concert opportunities. This was a good time to make another upgrade to my equipment, which was the Panasonic camcorder capable of shooting in 1080p for better video quality. At this point I was using video from my camcorder and audio from Zoom device. It was time to document my first real concert tour that started in Baltics in April of 2014 and finished in USA on October of the same year. By the end of the tour I had plenty of footage from different venues with some really nice performances that I was eager to share on my social media. However, as I was reviewing it after the tour, I started realizing that both audio and video quality was wildly inconsistent, some of it even unusable because of the recording quality. At the time, my knowledge of equipment was still very limited, so I thought maybe my recording gear was starting to malfunction. I knew that microphone placement would affect the sound, but I could not figure out why the video quality was nice and crisp in certain videos and grainy and blurry in others. By the end of the tour, I was invited to come to Pittsburgh, USA to continue my studies at the Carnegie Mellon University and play as a member with the River City Brass. I had a full year to sort out my paperwork, but in the meantime, since I had no more academic commitments for the whole year, I was going to figure out how to make better recordings and really improve my video production quality. I needed someone with videography expertise to help me out. I could not afford a professional video or audio producer, but I figured next best thing would be sending an email to all the surrounding universities and try to find a cinematography or audio student that needed a subject for an academic assignment. That way I would get my higher quality recordings done at little to no expense. And soon enough, to my surprise, I had multiple students responding and helping me out with my next level production. I was now introduced to terms like DSLR camera, overhead microphones, lavalier microphone, and I was slowly starting to understand which pieces of equipment are necessary to produce a professional level quality video and audio recordings. The more I got involved into this process, the more I started revisiting my childhood vision of becoming a rock musician and playing mainstream music, except for this time the idea sounded way less silly and the vision was much more clear. Why not try and become two cellos, Vanessa Mae or Lindsey Sterling of Euphonium? After all, they all started on instruments that originally had a very traditional purpose and backgrounds. I had access to good quality audio and video recording facilities now. The only missing piece was the piece itself. I started getting in touch with local student composers asking to write me a euphonium rock solo, but none of them were even close to the mainstream music that I was looking for. I soon came back to realization that there was no such thing as rock or mainstream euphonium, and the only way I would make it happen would be by writing the music myself. I remembered that back when I was a teenager, I used to compose my own songs for my rock band on a tablature software called Guitar Pro 4. I even managed to find old tunes that I originally wrote for Rock Band and Euphonium. One of them was a piece called Euphonium that I wrote as a kid with the expectation to one day be good enough to play it. Except for now, I actually had skills to play the piece that I once wrote myself and even had an ability to make a recording of it. The real question was, how do I turn this into that? I soon realized that turning this little MIDI render into my rock hit version would require not only me being able to play the tune well, having an audio and video engineers, but also a drummer, guitar player, bass player, and an ability to record them all, which particularly in case of drums is a much more complicated process than simply recording euphonium. So I started asking the audio engineering student that I was working with for potential solutions. He introduced me to a software called Ableton Live, which is a digital audio workstation, also known as a DAW. It allowed me to replace some of the parts such as drums with electronic drums, as well as plug in an electrical guitar into an audio interface and record it as a live instrument into a track. We even did a creative music documentary video for the piece with my video engineer. After multiple weeks of work, the end project was here. During the editing and mixing process, I kept on hearing terms such as EQ, compression, and reverb thrown around, but I had no clue which one meant what and what was it for. I could only describe things in words such as dull, not powerful enough, lack of blend, and so on, which for an inexperienced audio engineering student was a guessing game. At that point I realized that this version was going to be as good of a product that we could have made with the people and the resources I was working with. It was far out from what I originally envisioned as a dream recording, but was way better than what I started with. I still didn't fully understand whether the key to a better sounding recording was better arranging or composition, better playing on my end, better recording equipment, better mixing or mastering maybe. I felt that maybe after all I should stick to an area that I understood the best, which was traditional classical music, especially when after I published the recording on YouTube, it seemed that people were more interested in how I played so high and fast rather than the piece itself. On top of that, I decided to grab my old camcorder and make my first actual educational video, which cost me a fraction of time to make, did not require a whole crew to produce, and received more than 20 times the views of all the other stuff I published on YouTube. It was a clear hint to me that there was more demand for educational euphonium tutorials than the euphonium music itself, or at least my euphonium music. I made a conscious decision to turn my content from vlog and performance-based channel to an educational channel. Soon after, I left to start my new life in the United States. My new mentor at the time, Lance Leduc, was very curious about my promotional and production vision. To my surprise, he insisted that rather than scaling back from these activities, I should utilize the facilities at the Carnegie Mellon and commit even more time and even more effort to improving the quality and quantity of my videos. And this is where things started really getting serious for me. CMU was a limitless facility with 24/7 access to top recording and production software, microphones, high-end camcorders, and DSLRs that could be taken out for landing at any time, and which to my surprise was barely ever being utilized by local students. The university even had a little mixing studio with isolation booth for recording that was accessible to students 24/7 that nobody even knew about. I started experimenting with different microphones, different video recording devices, green screens, and learning how to operate a much more complex editing software in Adobe Premiere. Some of the videos turned out very well and some of it ended up just being thrown away. However, I was quickly gaining knowledge about what microphones worked where, what cameras would give me the video quality I liked, and what pre-planning had to be done if I was going to edit different shots and different scenes later on. I quickly realized that scripting long format videos might be a time-consuming process to begin with, but it saved a bunch of time when recording and editing, as well as the end product would turn out much better looking and smoother sounding. Also, even though my English was very good when I arrived to States, it took me a while before I could put well-constructed, semi-formal sounding sentences without pre-planning or taking huge pauses to think about it. Also, when reading my own scripts, I could analyze my language, notice the bad tendencies, and try to be aware of them and correct it. After all, if I was going to try and explain complicating playing-related information, I'd better make sure it's clear and understandable to everyone.
Hello everyone! Today I will show you a technique that is the most misused and underused technique amongst brass players at the same time. But before we get into that, make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel, as well as hit that notification bell if you'd like to be the first one to receive the latest videos and updates. I will be giving out a free PDF of these exercises, so check the description box below for directions on how to get yours. That being said, let's talk about jaw vibrato.
At this time, I've already figured out more or less of a structure that I thought worked very well in my videos and made them look not only informative but professional. I started to get a good amount of views and subscribers, but I realized that almost none of my content was focused on the thing that I truly loved, which was performing. I thought to myself that it would be a very cool idea to give regular people and younger music students a close-up look to what goes on whenever I was performing in a professional concert setting. River City was kind enough to allow me to set up a little GoPro camera each time we performed, and this was the start to my band video playlist. Not only allowed me to display my playing much more often, but it was a much less time-consuming video project. As I was reviewing some of the videos I've uploaded, I thought to myself, man, there's so many cool parts we're playing in our section. It would be really awesome if people got to see exactly what we're playing. And this is when I started putting images of sheet music on the screen that people really seem to enjoy. As my videos were getting more and more attention, I started to think about next steps that could improve my content. I could not make the audio any better since these were live performances and I could only set up a small GoPro on stage. Therefore, I started making some nice video intros using a variety of graphic design effects that allow me to put cool moving images on the screen at the start of the videos. I soon started realizing that even with screen images of sheet music, some people, particularly younger musicians, still struggle following what's happening. Or if I was to put an image with a bass clef, I would get a bunch of comments from European players saying that they could not read it, and vice versa with treble clef and American low brass players. I came up with a solution to put a video of one of the notation software playbacks on the screen as we were playing. That allowed me not only display both bass and treble clef at the same time, but also gave a cursor indicating where exactly on the page our section was when we were playing. My outreach was growing and my vision was crystal clear in terms of what I wanted to do. I managed to combine all my professional playing activities with my personal playing activities. All I needed to do now is go into cruising mode and keep on doing what I've been doing for a while, except for...
First, the unfolding coronavirus emergency. The World Health Organization has declared coronavirus a global pandemic with more than 118,000 cases across 114 countries.
As soon as the pandemic hit, I immediately knew that not only my professional activities, in other words, concert schedule will stop, but also my personal video activities will be extremely limited, since no concerts meant no footage, which meant no content for my videos. The only possible solution that I came up with was recording music in studio environment, which meant each person could be isolated one player at a time, with no need for large gatherings or concert halls. The only problem was there were no recording studios open, or even if it was, I could not rent one for full-time recording process. I started building my own home recording studio. From my time at CMU, I knew exactly what type of equipment they had in their studios and what was relevant if I was to do my own recordings. Good news was that unlike recording piano or drums, getting good quality track on Euphonium is not that complicated. The problem was that there are only so many things you can do with Euphonium alone. My colleague at the River City agreed to do some tuba recordings with me, which opened up opportunities for tuba euphonium duets, quartets, and so on. Soon I realized that all of this was consuming an absurd amount of time, meaning we had to learn new repertoire which was outside of what we played with River City. I would have to travel to my colleague's place, spend hours setting everything up, including microphones, interface, camera, lighting equipment, laptop, on top of spending 1 or 2 days recording, then coming back home and doing same thing over again myself for euphonium tracks on top of audio and video editing process. It would take me weeks to produce a single video instead of one solid day of work spent listening through live recordings that we did in River City concerts, picking video that I like, syncing up scrolling sheet music on screen, and posting video on social media. Also, just like euphonium alone, you can only do so much stuff with tuba and euphonium in comparison to a brass band with full selection of instruments. Because I had a good amount of support from my patrons, I decided that the only way to make this doable was to use the money raised and build home studios for my colleagues so we can make recording process easier, better and more productive. A couple of my friends from River City agreed to join the recording project that I had in mind, so from April 2020 to about October 2020, I've spent all of my time acquiring video and audio equipment which was now being price gouged because everyone was turning their work into virtual environment. The challenge was to find not only equipment within certain budget limits, but also teach my colleagues how to operate the recording equipment and software to the point where everyone was capable of making recordings on their own, submitting them to me so I could make the final video product. We started recording with very little structure since communication was much more complicated than recording separate tracks while everyone is at the studio at the same time. I soon realized that when everyone submits their recordings played along with click track rather than together, it was very hard to match articulation, dynamics, phrasing and intonation well, and even though the audio was turning out with good quality, it was missing some of that natural liveliness because of the editing process required to put all things together. We started creating a hierarchy of which player is recording which track first so other musicians could listen and match the playing a bit better, which ended up giving the audio a much more lively feel to it. Of course, I wanted to improve visual quality to our videos as well, because unlike live concerts, it was looking a little bit dull. I tried looking for people to hire to create special effects and cool transitions for our videos, but ended up realizing that not only financially it did not make any sense, but also it was very hard to explain what I was looking for since not that many video producers and engineers are familiar with brass music and instruments. So once again, I took matters into my own hands and started learning visual effect creation and programming, which led to the videos that we are currently producing. To sum this up really quick, even though for me the journey of learning video and audio production started so I could promote myself, it quickly became much more about seeing how good can I make the product become, whether the product was my own playing, quality of audio and video recording, or production. The most important thing I've learned is that as long as I would stick with something, be continuous with my work, be very persistent, patient, and relentless in terms of work I put in, eventually the vision becomes reality, whether it's coming from a kid growing up in a small town in an unknown country who dreams of becoming a professional euphonium player, or a student who wishes to hear his playing being displayed in same quality product like a famous pop singer. Your dreams only fail when you decide to stop. Everything else is a minor setback along the way that you learn from. And this is the mindset that allowed me to find success in playing, recording, and other business ventures. Be curious, be open-minded, and be persistent with your own personal goals. Now that you got a very good idea of the background for my videos, hopefully the evolution of my channel for those who have been following me makes more sense. Or if you're new to my content, make sure to check it out and you'll be able to clearly see the story I told you coming like a little puzzle piece by piece together through my video content. With that in mind, let's talk about specific equipment and software that I use in order to produce different type of video content. To start with, let's list all the software and equipment I currently use, and then I will break down which one is being utilized in what context. For audio recordings, I use DAW, Digital Audio Workstation, which allows me to capture sound on an external microphone. There is a variety of DAWs to choose from, such as Pro Tools, Logic Pro, Cubase, Ableton Live, Adobe Audition, Studio One, FL Studios, and free software such as Audacity and GarageBand. Free software such as Audacity can accomplish many things, but you will be limiting yourself with your choice of plugins such as reverbs, EQs, delays, compressors, as well as tracks per project, different crossfades, and so on. It will not impact the quality of sound itself in terms of capturing it, but you will be limiting yourself when doing larger projects. If you're seriously looking into doing live instrument recordings, two leading softwares would be Pro Tools and Logic Pro. They have the best audio algorithms for precise editing and great selection of native plugins. I personally use Pro Tools. Also, I'm a Windows guy, so Logic Pro would not even work on my computer. Once in a while, I incorporate Cubase for audio design when it comes to electronic music. And Studio One for cool electric guitar plugins. However, 99% of my audio recording time is spent on Pro Tools. For video editing, I use software called Premiere Pro, and it is one of the Adobe software. Equally good, if not better, software on Macs would be Final Cut Pro. It will have all the functions that Premiere Pro has, which will give you all the tools necessary to produce creative video content. For creating cool visuals such as nice looking call to action effects, glowing frames, and cool backgrounds, I use Adobe After Effects. It is much more extensive and complicated software than Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro, but it can handle motion graphics and visual effects on top of compositing that Premiere and Final Cut Pro offers. It will also require a pretty powerful computer to operate on. I personally use it strictly for visual effects rather than the editing itself because of a much more simple workflow in Premiere. For creating thumbnails, I use both Adobe Photoshop and Premiere. You can make some really cool looking video thumbnails on Premiere pretty easily, but it will limit you with certain functions like creating a transparent image that will give you more flexibility with your background choice. Again, Photoshop might make the thumbnail process a bit more complex and time consuming, but it will give you more flexibility at the same time. In order to turn PDF sheet music into images so later on they can be imported into video editing software, I use Adobe Acrobat. It allows me to convert a variety of document formats to make them video editing software friendly. Streamlabs is the software I use for self-recording and controlling my camera from computer. Also, I use it for screen recordings as well as live streaming. A lot of cameras have a native software that allows for controlling camera through computer, as well as you could use screen recording software such as QuickTime, but I personally find that Streamlabs OBS offers everything in one software with a relatively simple workflow. Finale and Sibelius are two notation softwares that I use to create tempo maps for my click tracks and audio sessions, composing and arranging music, as well as to create scrolling music display effect that you see in my videos. A decent free alternative would be software called MuseScore. I'm not going to make a detailed tutorial on how to use each and every software since there's no way I could fit that all in one video, but at least this will give you a good idea of which software to look at for your specific needs, whatever they might be. In regards to equipment, I use GoPro for all of my live band videos. Compact size is the most important thing for me on stage, and it is hard to beat GoPros when it comes to that. It has surprisingly good audio quality. All of the live videos that I've posted had audio source coming from GoPro. Downside would be a very small lens, which is not a problem if you have great stage lighting. However, videos can become very grainy if the lighting is not great. If compact size is not a concern for you, then you'll have way more options for better audio and video combos to choose from when buying your camcorder. For my home videos that have a way more cinematic look to it, I use a Canon T6i camera. It gives a fantastic look in terms of colors, clarity, and it has a huge set of lens choices for low light environments, small rooms, large rooms, blurred backgrounds, and so on. For audio recordings, I use a set of different microphones based on different styles of music and different venues that I play at. I use 3 types of different microphones. Shure SM57, which is a dynamic microphone, great for capturing a bit more natural sound since it does capture more room noise. However, if you're trying to isolate the sound and you don't have nice acoustics in your recording environment, it would not be the greatest option to choose from. For more isolated sounds, which is useful when trying to mix different instruments recorded in different rooms, I use either large diaphragm cardio condenser microphone, small diaphragm cardio condenser microphone, or combination of two. Large diaphragm is awesome for not capturing any unwanted room noise, but it does normally bring out more high frequencies in your sound, which some people don't like all that much on low brass instruments because it might make your sound a bit brighter than normal. I personally don't mind it because I find that euphonium is normally the darkest sounding instrument no matter what, and some higher frequencies give me extra clarity and sensitivity to dynamics. Also, large diaphragm cardio condenser microphones will be the best suited for capturing voice if you're doing any voiceovers, so you get a multi-purpose microphone. A good starting cardio condenser would be AT2020 that I used for many of my videos. Small diaphragm cardio condensers will capture a slightly warmer sound, but it will be more sensitive to room noise as well as a bit too sensitive for close-up voice recordings, which might end up giving you a bunch of pops in your audio even if you use windscreen. However, combination of large and small diaphragm cardio condenser mics will give you a very balanced low brass sound in terms of clarity and warmth. A good starting microphone would be AT2021. If you need to record your voice or euphonium while in movement, having a clip-on lavalier microphone would be a great idea. However, I'm not going to get into too much detail into that because I haven't used one myself for a while now. There are a bunch of other different microphone types for specific needs, but as I've mentioned prior, recording euphonium is not that complicated, and if I had to choose one microphone, I would go with a large diaphragm cardio condenser microphone. I use a variety of audio interfaces for multiple purposes once again. You can buy a USB microphone like Blue Yeti if you wish for a bit more simple use and slight savings since USB microphones have interface built inside them. However, having a good external audio interface will give you more flexibility with your gain use and a bit cleaner signal from my personal experience. Great starting interfaces would be Scarlett Solo and PreSonus Audio Box. Both will be compatible with all the DAWs that I listed before, as well as give you phantom power required for condenser microphones to run. You'll also need an XLR cable, microphone stand, and headphones, but I won't get into too much detail into those since it'll be hard to go wrong here with most of the stuff you'll see on Amazon or local music stores. Now that you have an idea of what software and equipment I use to make my own videos, let me share with you some of the main terms you should do research on in order to understand how to explain what you want from your tracks to your audio or video engineer, or if you like to learn how to operate all the software yourself. My favorite place to get detailed information on all of these terms is lynda.com. It's an online resource that has tutorials on video and audio production from leading industry professionals. For almost 2 years straight, I would wake up and spend my first 60 minutes of a day listening to a variety of relevant tutorials. It was very confusing in the beginning since there were so many different terms and different pieces of equipment and software that was being explained in great detail. A lot of audio engineering language I would not understand immediately, but each time I would hear an example of something that I thought could be relevant to my own projects, I would write down the term and make a brief description in my own words of what that plugin, effect, software, or equipment did, so later on I could do more research in greater detail. A free alternative to that would be YouTube, which will have every piece of information that you might need. However, since you won't have a filtered platform such as Lynda, where they would only hire experienced professionals for tutorials, you might have to invest a good amount of time in researching which information on YouTube is accurate and which is not. However, these two platforms were the source of 90% of the knowledge that I've gained on audio and video recording and production. I've learned many different things through listening, but truly understood what each of them meant once I had an opportunity to implement them into my own content creation. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this little tutorial on my audio and video production. I tried giving as much information for all of you so you wouldn't have to spend years looking for where to look. I would encourage you all to try to start your own recording process. Not only will it help you promote yourself as an artist, but it will teach you skills that are becoming more and more crucial in our constantly changing learning and performance environment. Thank you so much once again for watching, and hope to see you all soon with many more cool educational, entertainment and review videos. Take care, friends.